Welcome, everybody, to this week's paranormal vlog entry. I'm going to be talking about two or three different experiences today from my book that I'm writing called Living with the Paranormal. And this first one happened when I was 19 or 20. And this happened right after my paranormal experiences I had in my apartment in Muscatine. You can go back and watch that video. So anyway, I decided to take a trip to see my mother who lives in Ohio. She's 9 hours away from me. And my car at the time wasn't very dependable. The bearings were going out. And it was so bad that one of the wheels on him was like about to fall off almost. And after I'd got to Ohio, my stepdad, being a mechanic and at the time was working at a mechanic shop, decided that he was going to fix my bearings for me. So we drove to the mechanic shop he was working at, and he put my car up on the lift to start working on my car and said it was going to be a little bit. So I had decided to take a walk around because I had never been to this part of Ohio. And I had started to walk through the shop, and I started to walk towards a part of the shop that had a huge workbench and a bunch of tools just scattered around. You know how mechanic shops are. And I walked into this part of the shop through an entryway, and I stopped. And I saw a man, a full-bodied apparition of a man that was in 1920s clothing. He was wearing a riding cap, much like I'm wearing now, and was wearing knickers. And he was wiping his hands off with a rag. You know how mechanics have their shop rags that they use to wipe their hands off? He was wiping his hands off with this rag. And then he looked over at me and smiled, and then vanished. Now, I stood in shock there for, I don't know, a minute or two. It seemed like an eternity, but I had saw him for maybe 30 seconds until he vanished. And after my initial shock of, whoa, I just saw a full-bodied apparition, I ran back into the room where my stepfather was working on my car, and I stopped him and I said, I just saw this full-bodied apparition of somebody wiping their hands off. He was in 1920s clothing, yada, yada, yada. And he looked at me in this shocked look, this flabbergasted look. And he said that people that worked at the shop had similar experiences. I think he said even one person had even seen this full-bodied apparition, and they had tools that would go missing and that they would find in different places throughout the shop, 2 weeks later. And, things just would get moved throughout the shop and everything. And he just kind of stared at me and goes, well, at least now we can confirm that there's a ghost here at the mechanic shop. And then both he and I just went about our business, typically how my paranormal experiences happen. But what's crazy is later on this same trip, we had decided to go see my stepdad's mother, who lived in Buckeye Lake at the time. And we were walking through the house, and his mother was going to make something, and she was walking through the kitchen. And my stepdad and I were following her, and I looked down towards her feet, and I saw this tiny dog following behind her. And I looked over at my stepdad and I go, did you know there's this tiny dog that follows your mother around the house? And again, my stepdad looked at me flabbergasted, and he goes, after describing the dog, it was tiny, I didn't see it as fully as I did the mechanic, but it was like darkish brownish hair, maybe a little shaggy. This was 20 years ago. And he confirmed, and he said, we owned this dog back when he lived there, back when he was younger. And what these two experiences showed me at a younger age, like I said, I was either 19 or 20, was that even these insignificant experiences, they might not be insignificant to my stepfather, but some of these little ones are insignificant to me. They still amaze me today, as it shows that if we're attached to a place or attached to a person or attached to an object in real life, we can still be attached to these things and places and people and objects in the afterlife. What these two experiences also showed me at a younger age was that when the paranormal happens to me, they happen to me in bunches. They happen to me in bunches. I'll have a paranormal experience here and a paranormal experience there. And then all of a sudden I'll have like 3 or 4 different experiences all at once, right, one right after another. And this is when I really thought, it's probably because I don't have the best control over my paranormal and clairvoyance. Back in my early and mid 20s, I was taking it seriously. I was giving people psychic readings. I would go on ghost hunts with my friends here and there. But I had never really sought out a mentor or anything. And I've always just kind of went off on my own. I'm kind of a lone wolf in that regard, where I would do research and everything and read up a lot on techniques to help me channel and everything on my own. And most of this is because, to be very honest, I didn't trust anybody with my clairvoyancy outside of my grandmother. But it's something today that I'm learning to do. I'm learning to trust some more people with my clairvoyance. And, that's part of me coming out and being more public about my clairvoyance, is learning to trust people with it. That's why I'm doing this vlog entry. That's why I'm writing my book. And I had never really made any plans to make my clairvoyancy a career or a job or anything. I always just thought, oh, well, it was a cool thing to have, a cool gift to have. Even though I was, taking it seriously back then, I didn't have any plans to make it a career or anything until now, really. And, but today, I wish that back in my early and mid 20s, I had taken it serious and sought out that mentor. So, my advice to other sensitives or clairvoyants or psychics or mediums or whatever you call yourself, seek out help with your clairvoyance. Even if you don't plan to make it a career or anything, seek out help to better understand it, like I should have back in my mid-20s, early and mid-20s. Because whether if you want to make it a career or not, or you just find your gift fascinating, get help with it so you have somebody there to talk to about it. Get help with it. Learn how to better control it. Learn how to better channel people. And, if it gets to be too much, you can say, I'm not doing my clairvoyant stuff today. Leave me alone, type of thing. Because that's one of the issues I've had in the past is, things attach themselves to me and never leave me alone. So that's a little piece of advice I have, is don't do what I did in my early and mid-20s. Seek out a mentor or seek out somebody that knows something to better help you. But this goes on to my third experience here, and this is one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites, and it's really helped me a lot recently. It's really helped me a lot over the past few months with writing my book and understanding death and understanding the afterlife. And it's another pet experience. And it really solidified my belief in the intelligence of the afterlife and the bond we have with our pets, and how sacred the bond is with our pets. So this happened again probably in my early 20s. And I was sitting in my parents' basement at the time. I had moved out of my apartment in Muscatine. And I was sitting at the computer we had at the bottom of our steps. And I happened to look up the steps. I don't even know what made me glance over my shoulder and look up these steps. And I looked up these steps and saw a dog that looked like my grandparents' dog, Willow. You know, I had seen other dogs. I had seen other spirit dogs and other animals visit before, so I thought nothing of it because, to my knowledge, Willow wasn't sick or anything. Willow wasn't sick or anything. But the next day, my grandmother had called and said Willow had died. I was flabbergasted because Willow was, in fact, the dog that I had seen the night before. Willow had come back and said bye to me. And what's incredible about this is that Willow had only been to that house once. Never knew where I slept, wouldn't have known how to get there. Never knew that I slept in the basement. Wouldn't even have known where the basement was or how to get to it. And that just shows how intelligent spirits and entities in the afterlife is. She wouldn't have known how to get to my house and wouldn't have known any of it. And this experience, like I said, gives me strength when I need it. Because again, it shows the afterlife is real and that its intelligence is there. It also gives me a smile knowing that Willow, again, is waiting for me. Willow was a special dog. My grandparents, after that, didn't want to own another dog, and they ended up owning another one after that, but it was never the same. Willow was a special dog. And what the thing with Willow is, she always tried to mother me. She was extremely intelligent, and she always tried to talk to us through her barks and hollows, and you could always see in her eyes that she wished she could speak human. She was really sensitive, like most animals are. Most animals are very sensitive. Most animals are very sensitive to the paranormal and spirits and entities. That's why you see on some of these paranormal shows, they bring in a dog, because dogs can sense ghosts and entities and whatnot. And she was so sensitive to the point that she always would comfort me when I was in time of need. She would always know when I was upset, and she would always curl up with me and lick my face to let me know everything was okay. And again, it just shows that when you're attached to an object or attached to a person, you can come back and visit, whether you're a dog or a human. But this experience with Willow, again, showed me the intelligence of the afterlife. And when people talk about dogs and crossing the Rainbow Bridge and dogs visiting and other animals, it can be cats too. It can be cats too. It can be any animal that you were close to and mothered you, kind of like Willow did with me. It shows you the intelligence of the afterlife. It shows you the afterlife is real, and that not only humans come back to visit and comfort us, but our pets that have crossed over too. So that's it for this week's paranormal vlog entry, guys. Hope you enjoyed these experiences like I've enjoyed telling you all about. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week and a good weekend. I'll be back next week with another paranormal vlog entry. I'm going to be talking about a couple of negative experiences that made me shy away from my clairvoyance and giving psychic readings and whatnot. And then I'll also talk about, me coming back out with my clairvoyance. Again, I hope you all have a good weekend. Keep hitting that subscribe button, hit that bell button to let you know when I go live. I am planning a paranormal go live with questions people have left me, and I'll go into further detail on more of my clairvoyance and experiences. I'll let you guys know when that happens. Keep posting comments, and if you want to get a hold of me, you can post a comment in my community. My community is very open-minded and judgment-free. So again, have a good weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next week.